This is my long-term review for the iPhone 15 Pro Max after upgrading from the iPhone 12 and then before that the iPhone X. Why did I spend slightly over $1,000 on this, what I think is an ultimate perfect iPhone that doesn't even have any distinct AI features?
AI.
Don't get me wrong, Apple will slowly bring more features to the future iPhones. They can make it thinner. That's a current rumor going on. They could partner with Google's Gemini or OpenAI's ChatGPT to bring like super low latency AI conversations. That's all great and dandy, but do I really need those features? Not really. And that's why I'm gonna stick with this iPhone 15 Pro Max, very long name, as long as I can, as long as I could keep on replacing the batteries for it every 2 or 3 years, and even have it in a case. And if you know me, I've been part of the caseless lifestyle for like half a decade, and now I've reverted because I really want to take care of this phone for a long time. And why did I buy this phone? Well, for one part is that Apple really squeezed all the lemon juice out of the lemon to bring all the top of the line smartphone features to this device that wasn't here for a while. And what I'm talking about, that the first part is definitely this super close to just completely bezel-less front-facing display. Like, here's the year that Samsung added the fully bezel-less screen with just the camera cut out in the display, and it took Apple this long to add it. They first added it to the iPhone 14 Pro. That's where Dynamic Island came out, and I mean we'll talk about Dynamic Island. And also, Apple added a 5x telephoto lens. Here's when Samsung added an equivalent 5x or more. They even have like 10x, or I think maybe more than that. And here's when Apple did it. So yes, Apple's been late to the game, but you know why people love Apple, right? It's not just the blue bubbles over the green bubbles. It's really how they pair the software with the hardware. And nothing is more clear than when you look at Dynamic Island. Like, it even has like the patented put a special name on that, like liquid retina display, or I don't know, like macOS Mojave, how they name the macOS software is like Apple. They gotta slap their little catchy name to it. And Dynamic Island is not just a catchy name, it's a beautiful piece of software and hardware that turns a bezel into its standalone feature. And I can't wait to talk about that more. And also, iPhone 15 Pro Max and the regular iPhone 15s. And for the foreseeable future, thanks to the EU. Thank you for enforcing this, because I don't think Apple would have done it themselves, even though they should have a long time ago, because their Macs and iPads have had it for years. They finally brought USB-C to the iPhone. When did Samsung do it? When did Apple do it? It's about time. So before we talk about the shiny new hardware and software tools that I love to play with, like I love that telephoto lens so much, I'm excited. But I wanted just to talk about the basics. The battery life is so amazing. It like lasts like basically like 2 days with like around like 10 hours of screen time. And I don't know why Apple software locked this to just this phone. But with just this phone, you could only charge, you could set like a battery software limit so that the battery only charges to 80%. And that helps sustain the battery life for more and more cycles for the longevity of the device and the battery itself. But Apple software locked that to this phone. So, and I think the iPhone 15 lineup in general. So I've had that on. I'm only charging my phone to 80% to, make it last longer, but I don't know why Apple just locked it to this one. I know they could bring it to all the devices, and hopefully they do that in iOS 17. The iPhone 15 Pro Max still has MagSafe, even with that camera bump ever expanding. If it expands anymore, I don't think there's going to be room for a magnet ring, but this one has it, and MagSafe is oh so juicy when they make that connection. It's just so satisfying. And of course, this phone has waterproofness. I'm not going to test it because my iPhone 12 was waterproof and it actually broke in water. So just take that with a grain of salt. And overall, I have no complaints with the display. It's vibrant, it's super high resolution, it's OLED, so all the blacks don't waste any battery life. The display is perfect. The processing speed is great. I haven't had any issue with like the iPhone's processing power since like the iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8 days. So the iPhone has an amazing chip that is frankly 2 to 3 years ahead of the Snapdragon's competitor. And a feature that is exclusive to this device is the action button. So it's kind of weird. Apple is like a give or take company because they took away the home button, but now they're adding back a button, and it makes a ton of sense because before I would never use the ringer switch. I would always have it on silent. But now we have a new button there, and I honestly, like, for someone that loves minimalism and simplicity, like I love how all the Teslas have just basically a screen and no other buttons. I'm right there with like the transition between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone X. I loved all the gestures over the home button. So you would think I would be opposed to adding a button, but in a way they kind of went one for one in a button because you had the ringer switch that I never used, and now in place of that we have another possible button, but you could program it to anything you want. So you actually have flexibility. Not a common term with iOS, but Apple's been giving people more and more flexibility. Shout out to all those emulators on the App Store. But yeah, what I have the action button programmed to is, wait for it, the camera, because the faster I can access the camera is just better for me. And yeah, I use the camera, not like every day, but I don't know what other feature I would program it to. Like the flashlight, no, that's already on the home screen, like locked. I cannot change that icon. Please, Apple, let us in iOS 17 change the icon, please. But I have it set to recording video, so a slightly different camera button other than the one on the home screen that just takes you to the photo or swiping right. Yeah, I have basically 3 ways to get to the camera super fast now, and 4 if you count Siri. And then she came up. So another feature that is kind of software locked to just dynamic island phones is getting rid of the low battery pop-up. So whenever your phone goes into 20%, 10%, instead of giving you like a notification, Apple completely just blocks out your screen, and then you have to click dismiss physically. With this phone, it just comes into the dynamic island, beautiful, elegantly, and then it slowly dissipates. I don't know why Apple forces it to be a pop-up when it doesn't really have to be. And the speakers on this thing are amazing. Do I think the 6.7-inch screen is too big? Yeah, it's definitely not a one-hand device anymore. It definitely has some weight, even though the back is titanium. Oh, titanium. It's no longer aluminum. I don't really feel the difference. I mean, it doesn't really feel that much lighter than other iPhones. It might be slightly lighter, but yeah, apparently Apple's going to keep on with the trend of increasing display sizes, just like people want bigger and bigger cars, like bigger SUVs and trucks. Apple's doing that with the screen sizes. So RP, the mini line of iPhones, the iPhone 13 mini might be the last mini iPhone. I hope it's not, because that phone is so cute to hold in your hand. Like, I would love to have it if it came with the telephoto lens, because that's how much the telephoto lens means to me. That's like really, like, the telephoto lens is, and the action button are the 2 biggest reasons why I went with the Pro line of iPhone 15 instead of the regular iPhone 15. And then I would have gotten the iPhone 14 Pro Max, even though it doesn't have a 5x telephoto, only has a 2x telephoto, or maybe a 3x, but it has Lightning, not USB-C, and I want to future-proof myself. So going back to the issue, do I think Apple needs to increase screen sizes to 6.9 and then eventually 7.1 and 7.3? No, I think honestly, like, the 6 to 6.7 range is mighty fine, especially with bezels being as slim as they are now and even gonna get even slightly thinner in the future. Yeah, I think these screens are good. I don't think they need to be any bigger. If you want bigger, just go get an iPad. But I'm sure people might have been saying that when the iPhone, like, 6 Plus first released, when that had like a 5.5-inch display. So I guess we adjust to the bigger screen sizes. Talking about the camera, oh, pure bliss. So before, with my iPhone 12, it had a 0.5 photo and video lens. And for videos, I would take videos of me running, but the stabilization on it was just not great. I don't know if it had any optical image stabilization or what Apple's doing now is all digital, but the videos I take now while I'm running with the 0.5 lens, because I like to post some videos on Strava, it's now perfectly smooth. There's some jitterness, but it looks like a GoPro like action camera with how like smooth it is, and my like arm is like bouncing up and down all which way. In the iPhone 12, you could clearly see like a difference between that phone and this phone, between the amount of stabilization you get with the ultra wide lens. So that itself to me is an important camera feature. Like now I could actually use it to record me running, which with the iPhone 12 I could, but no one wanted to watch it, not even me, who took those videos. Overall, the camera is great. Like basic photos, I can't really see that much of a difference between the iPhone 12 and iPhone 15, but yeah, I'm sure it's improved in some places. What really matters to me and what I really have fun with is the 5x telephoto lens. Having just an ability to just zoom in 5x, whether you're trying to get like a skyscraper that's way off in the background, or you just want to take like a photo of an object in your house while you're like sitting down, or there's so many times where you want to get closer to something. And I'm not just talking about like filming at a concert and trying to film the artist more clearly, because I frankly disagree with recording a concert. Get your 20-second clip, but then put your phone away. Enjoy the moment. But yeah, the 5x telephoto lens, there's not many things right now with smartphones that could bring you like a little like joy, like a little spurt of dopamine in your brain, because we're at the upper end of the S-curve of smartphone features, and from here on out we're just going to hear AI with the iPhone and maybe a little bit more about the camera. That's really it. So the fact that I could enjoy one of these last moments of feeling something new with an iPhone, a new type of experience, and Apple could bring like a 10x, 15x zoom telephoto lens in the future, and I'm sure I would get more enjoyment from that. But the difference between 2x and 5x I think is more significant than going from 5x to 10x, because it's just the usability of a 5x telephoto is just that much more than a 2x. And now talking about the dynamic island, La Isla de Maravilloso, it's a software feature I adore. It's kind of like a secret home base for multitasking, because if you're recording like a voice memos or recording like a screen recording, you get all these like little feedback, little live interactions with the dynamic island that you wouldn't get otherwise. And it just makes like just such a seamless, perfect integration between hardware and software. And it's like, it's hard to explain, especially when I don't even have like a little pet in my dynamic island, which you could do. For me, it was like kind of distracting, super cute, but distracting. And even if I don't have that pet up there, I still appreciate the dynamic island so insanely much. And honestly, I love just clicking the dynamic island and seeing it get slightly bigger and just feeling the haptic feedback. Is that kind of just me just finicking around? Yeah, but it feels great, and I can't do that any other way. And one thing that Apple gets so right is that whenever you're playing music and you're just like scrolling through your phone, you get the audio waveform in the dynamic island, and it's oh so satisfying. And then when you get on a phone call, even though like nowadays no one gets on a phone call, you get to see like your audio in green and the other person's audio in red, and just like the satisfaction of seeing those audio waveforms, indescribable, honestly. And yeah, I think that almost basically sums up everything with my iPhone 15 Pro experience. Is it a ton of money? Yes, but any money that I get to spend on seeing Duo's butt on a larger display, it's 100% worth it. And another exclusive feature that basically no one will ever use because no one owns the $4,000 Vision Pro is that you could record spatial videos directly on this device. I guess I'll just leave this in as a looming uncertainty for the future of the Vision lineup.